Hey guys, Dean Gearhart here, coming at you with another video. Today, just wanted to show you some quick items I got in the past couple weeks in the mail, and just wanted to go over a couple other things that I've been thinking about. First off, got in a couple 1949 Bowman baseball for my set. This is Stam Lopata. It's card number 177. And then I got in Ralph Branca, and that's card 194. And I won another card last night, so when I get that in, I'll be down to the magic number of 15 more cards to go for this set. And I believe they are all Hall of Famers that I need now. So I'll show some other cards here in a minute. Last week I was listening to a podcast by Mike Baseball Collector, and he kind of went back to his origins or roots of collecting, how it started and how it progressed to where it was today. And I got to thinking that, that's a really interesting topic. I was intrigued by what he was talking about, and I'm always fascinated about how people get started in collecting and things they collect. I mean, you could collect rubber bands if it's something about it that's intriguing or whatever. I'll watch, I'll listen. But I've always been a collector. I guess I kind of realized that listening to Mike's podcast, and what I mean by that is, I didn't just always collect baseball cards and Star Wars toys and stuff. It actually started for me when I was real little. My grandfather, my mom's dad, had a farm, and I was always uh, fascinated by farm life and farm animals and stuff. And the collecting side of me actually started with those toys, which I still have. They're actually downstairs packed up though, but there was convenience stores in Pennsylvania. They were Ben Franklin, Five and Dime. They may have had them in other states, I don't know. But I just remember when I was a real little kid, real little. I mean, I was 2, 3 years old. Those were the kind of toys I would get, was a bag of farm animals. I remember one Christmas getting some metal tractors and plows and stuff that went with it. And, so you can kind of say my collecting started there, at that young of an age. And then as I got older, discovering cards. And the more I thought about it, I think my uncle got me started in baseball cards, but my mom got me started on just in general collecting, from the time of those farm animals to Star Wars toys to whatever cards were at the counter, letting me get a pack of cards, or getting a Mad magazine, or even a comic book. But the comic books really didn't stick with me, although I do have a couple, but they're more themed towards like Star Wars. Um, but just a collecting gene, I think, has always been a part of me. And uh, my sister doesn't have it at all. She saves nothing. Um, my wife, not really a collector of anything. She collects nativities, but she doesn't like constantly go out and buy them like we buy our cards or comic books or toys or whatever you collect. But it's a gene that's inside of us. It's who we are. And I just for me, like I said, my mom got me started on whatever pack of cards were at the counter at this little convenience store up the road from where I live now, which has since turned into a bar. But anyways, Um, whatever pack of cards was there, we would buy it, whether it was Charlie's Angels cards or Star Wars cards or baseball or football cards. It was just, packs were cheap then, 20 cents, 15 cents a quarter. You can get the cello packs, I think, were 35 cents. Heck, I remember the grocery packs at our it was Kroger's uh, food store, which is still around, more in the South though now, but we used to have Kroger's here in Western Pennsylvania. And I remember in 1979 getting a grocery rack pack, which is, 3 wax packs inside cellophane with cardboard behind it. I think that's how they are. Anyways, that's what I remember. But anyways, back to like the origin thing. I steadily collected baseball cards from the time my uncle bought them for me back in 1977 and then again in 78. I collected them every year except for 1982. I don't know if my family had money problems or what, but that was one year I didn't really have any very many cards. But I collected baseball cards all the way up through till the year I graduated high school in 1988. And one of my best friends, the same thing. We both kind of quit at the same time. Um, I maybe had about 4 or 5 complete sets then. I had a lot of cards from the early 70s. I had a family that used to babysit us. They gave me a bag of cards from 1971 and 1972. I don't remember anything spectacular being in them. I just remember taking them to school and everybody thought they were neat. I remember flipping them at the bus stop. So they weren't in the best of condition, and I'm sure I may still have some of them. So, but I also remember another time. Every summer we would go to my grandfather's farm, me, my sister, and a couple of my cousins, and we would bring our cards. Me and my one cousin, who's about a year older than me, and we would trade and stuff. Well, I remember the one year I traded all my baseball cards for all his football cards, and he might have some basketball cards in there too. Um, and I remember buying the tall basketball cards in 1977. I remember dropping them in a puddle up at the farm because we weren't able to drive up to the house because it was winter time and there was a foot of snow on the ground and the car wouldn't make it up the driveway, so we had to walk up. And I had my basketball cards in a Tupperware container, and that lid came open and they all fell in this puddle. And I remember my aunt taking them and putting them in the dryer to dry them off. Needless to say, I don't have any of those ones anymore, but I've since built that set. But anyways, I'm trailing off here. Uh, Back to my origins. I collected all the way up through till 1988, and I might have had. I remember Flair. I had one set complete, and Donruss I had a factory set complete. Well, I bought it, so it was complete, and I had about maybe 4 or 5 top sets complete. And those were ranging from years 1977 through 1988, so I didn't have a lot. I had one football set pretty close to being complete, and that was 1985, I want to say, Danny Marino's second year. So yeah, it was the black cards, the horizontal cards. I remember having that almost complete. Um, and then I bought maybe a couple packs here and there in the early 90s of some basketball. Just every once in a while I'd go past the card section and something would catch my eye and I would just maybe buy a pack or two of something, but I just didn't get into the collecting. But I did get into collecting Star Wars toys very heavily. I had quite a few of them from whenever I was younger, not when I was a little kid when the movies came out so much, but when I was like 15, I started collecting Star Wars figures. And I didn't tell anybody because, being 15, who buys toys? So it was kind of kept quiet. But my mom would, anytime we would go somewhere, we would, if there's a Star Wars figure I needed, we would get it. So then that kind of trailed off in the early 90s. And then Star Wars came out with a new line of figures in around 95. And my friend and I, the one I collected cards with as a kid, we both kind of jumped on that bandwagon because, you know, he had the collecting bug too. So we were built up massive collections of that. And I found out I was missing a couple figures from the original line, so I did get back and get them. But then I started wishing I would have kept them in their original package, so I started buying those. And I met my wife, and she was all on board with this. And we had our first child, Luke, and Luke started having some behavior issues and some different problems and stuff. And as he was getting older and stuff, and we realized that, you know, there was going to be some rough roads ahead for him and for us as a family. And it just, and where I was working wasn't a healthy spot. um, and I just felt like I needed to get back somewhere where I was comfortable, where I was calm, where I could calm myself. And it was collecting sports cards, baseball cards mainly, but, you know, just cards in general. So fast forward to 2011, and that's when I had jumped back into collecting full full time sports cards. And the Star Wars thing kind of trailed off because it was kind of like they kept just making the same figures in different scenarios, and it was kind of boring. And I was at the point where the old figures, they were just getting to be too expensive. But cards, you know, when I got back into it, I was just like, wow, I was overwhelmed. The grading and all this other stuff that didn't really exist. And, you know, just it didn't exist when I quit back in 1988. But I was very unfamiliar with the whole thing. And my first thought was I was going to build the 56 top set in PSA 7, you know. And I started off doing that, and I was going to build the 52 top set, and I was buying them. And next thing you know, I was just kind of scattered all over the place. And going back to what I originally said, I might have had 10 sets complete. I just counted the other day, since 2011, and if you can throw those 10 sets in, I've built over almost 200 sets from all four sports and a couple non-sports from 2011 till now. I've built every top set from 1970 up through last year. 98% of those sets were built. I didn't buy them complete. I built them. Most of the stuff from the 90s and 2000s, I built from packs. I was able to, before the pandemic hit, I was able to buy boxes of cards, open them, and build sets that way for the tops. And I did that in football also. And I didn't do it in basketball right away, but I started to. But anyways, then the prices went crazy, as you know, and buying boxes of cards wasn't the best way to build a set. So for the past couple years, I've just been buying factory sets of the baseball and the football. But I've built every football set from 1970 up through this past year also, except I need 5 more cards to finish the 72 set. So football. And I built, I don't know, I don't know how many basketball sets are in there. Hockey, I think there's only like 3 or 4. But I just thinking back to, you know, from 2011 till now, and I'm not bragging about it or anything like that. Don't take this the wrong way. I'm just because I work very hard for my money, believe me. But I'm like, wow. You know, that's only what's that, 11 years now? Yeah, it's 2022. Yeah, in 11 years I've went from like 10 complete sets all the way up to almost 200 complete sets. Now keep in mind, a couple of the sets I was close on, but like the sets from the early like 1970. I didn't have any of those cards. I had a couple hundred of 1974, 71, and 72. I pretty much replaced anything I'd had from when I was younger, and there was not much. Football cards, those, I didn't have any of the football cards. Those were all bought in the past 11 years to build the sets I built. And like I said, a lot of them I built from packs, you know, which I don't do anymore. Like I said, it's too expensive now. But Flair baseball cards, Donruss, Bowman, Upper Deck. Most of those I also built hand collated. There's a few here and there. I'd say maybe 10 sets that I actually bought. Like I bought a whole group of sets and paid more for shipping than I paid for all the sets that I bought. So, but I'm not even counting oddball sets. That's just mainly, the four major sports in Tops or Donruss or Flair. There are a lot of other sets I have that are smaller, but yeah. And my thinking about collecting sets has always been, it's not the whole story, And I have nothing against guys that do Hall of Fame sets. I think that's awesome. It's in the long run, it's probably cheaper because you're not spending crazy money on high number cards on guys that are just nobodies, or maybe only played 1 or 2 years. You know, to each his own. However anybody wants to collect, I think it's awesome the way everybody does it. But for me, it isn't just about the whole set. It's about what happened that year. What was it like in that decade? Um, you know, because the Hall of Famer guy, yeah, they're Hall of Famers, but there's guys around them that help them, or they're a part of that Hall of Fame career for, for however they got into the Hall of Fame. It might be because they're the home run king. It might be because they're, a good fielder, good pitcher, whatever. But they had a whole team. There was a whole group of guys around them. Uh, but not to take anything away from a Hall of Fame player at all. That's not what I mean. But to tell the whole story, there's guys in the background that were a part of that Hall of Fame career, if you know what I mean. And I think that's part of the reason why I like to build the whole set. Um, maybe in certain years that I haven't tackled yet, maybe I will just do Hall of Famers. But for me, set collecting is where it's at. Um, like I was saying, set collecting is that's my uh, my thing. I also do other little collecting things. Like I like to collect unopened blaster boxes now. I just kind of started that this year, oh, maybe a couple years ago. And I like to have some unopened packs, and it's mainly just newer stuff because the older stuff is just too expensive, and I don't want to get into the whole verifying and hoping things are real, and I haven't been, so I don't care about that, but I think that's cool if you collect unopened stuff too, so don't get me wrong. Well, this is probably the longest video I've ever made, and I'm just kind of rambling on now, but just wanted to share some thoughts and give a little more background to it. Um, so I hope you enjoy this, and I don't know if you'll listen to the whole thing, but we'll see. Have a good day.